When I first stepped into her house, the smell hit me before anything else. Not rot, not yet. It was something thicker, sweet, and metallic, like old flowers left too long in a closed room. Her husband had been dead for 9 days. Everyone in town knew it. The paramedics took him out on a stretcher. The coroner signed the papers. There was a closed casket service. I stood in that church and watched her press her lips to the wood, like she expected him to answer from inside. But 3 nights ago, the lights in their bedroom started turning on again. I only went over because she called me. Her voice was steady, almost relieved. She said she needed help moving something heavy back onto the bed. The front door was unlocked. She was waiting at the end of the hallway, wearing the same black dress from the funeral, her hair brushed neatly like she had company. Behind her, the bedroom door was half open. "He keeps sliding off," she said quietly. "I can't lift him alone." That was the moment I understood. They never buried him. I should have walked out. Instead, I followed her into the bedroom. The curtains were drawn tight even though it was midday. The air was warm, too warm, and thick enough that I felt it in my throat. The bed sat in the center of the room, sheets pulled back like someone had just climbed out. He was lying on top of them. Not in a coffin. Not wrapped. Just there. His skin had already begun to change, a gray-blue tint along his lips. His eyes half open, filmed over, staring at the ceiling. Someone had stitched the autopsy incision, but she had dressed him in his usual flannel shirt, buttoned neatly to the collar. His hands were folded on his chest, like he was posing for a photograph. Except his body was twisted slightly sideways, one leg hanging off the mattress. "He keeps trying to get up," she whispered. "He falls." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Bodies don't shift like that after 9 days. I forced myself closer, trying to keep my breathing shallow. That's when I saw the bruise on his neck, fresh, dark fingerprints pressed into dead flesh. "He doesn't like when I leave the room," she said softly. And behind me, the bedroom door clicked shut. I turned toward the door and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't move. "There's no lock," I said, my voice already thinner than I wanted it to be. "He doesn't like drafts," she replied. "He gets upset when it opens." My eyes flicked back to the bed. His chest wasn't rising. I told myself that. I focused on it. No breath, no movement, just a body stiffening into whatever came next. Then his fingers twitched. It was small, a tightening, like a cramp. I stepped back so fast, I hit the dresser behind me. The widow didn't flinch. She watched him with the kind of patience you use with a sick child. "He's learning again," she said. "It takes time." The smell in the room deepened, thick and wet, and I heard something that didn't belong there, a slow, sticky inhale. Not air filling lungs, something dragging across fluid. His head shifted, not falling, not rolling from gravity. It turned toward me. His eyes were still clouded, but they were no longer staring at the ceiling. They were fixed on my face. And his jaw began to open, stiff and cracking, like something inside was testing how wide it could go. I stumbled backward, shaking my head, trying to force sense into what I was seeing. Dead muscles don't coordinate. Dead jaws don't stretch wider on purpose. But his mouth kept opening. The sound that came out wasn't a breath. It was thick and wet, like air being forced through something clogged. His tongue, dark and swollen, shifted against his teeth. I heard cartilage pop in his neck as his head tilted farther toward me. The widow stepped closer to the bed and placed her hand gently on his chest. "It's okay," she whispered. "He's just hungry." The word hit harder than anything else in that room. Hungry. I lunged for the door again, yanking with everything I had. It didn't budge. Behind me, the mattress groaned under sudden weight. He wasn't lying down anymore. I turned slowly. He was sitting upright, his spine bent at an unnatural angle, skin stretching tight across bone. His feet dragged across the sheets, leaving dark stains behind. His eyes were locked on me, and now there was something in them. Movement, focus. His lips peeled back, and I saw pieces of something caught between his teeth that weren't there before. He moved wrong, not like someone weak, not like someone sick, like a puppet dragged upright by invisible hooks. His feet hit the floor with a heavy slap. One knee buckled sideways with a crack, but he didn't react. His body adjusted around the damage, jerking forward another step. The widow backed away from him, but not in fear. She was guiding him. "Slow," she whispered. "You'll tear again." I pressed myself against the wall, my palms sliding in sweat. The room felt smaller, air thinner. I could hear fluid shifting inside his chest when he leaned forward. He was close enough now that I could see the skin along his throat split, where the stitches strained. "You shouldn't have come," she said to me, almost gently. "He only settles when he feeds." My stomach dropped. "Feeds on what?" I asked, though I already knew. Her eyes flicked to me, on my hands, on my face. "He doesn't like strangers," she said, "but he'll take them." He lunged. His fingers closed around my shoulder with crushing force. Dead skin tore against my jacket, and his mouth came down toward my neck, and I felt his teeth break the surface of my skin. Pain didn't come the way I expected. It wasn't sharp at first. It was pressure, crushing, invasive pressure as his teeth sank deeper. I felt skin tear, then warmth flooding down my collar. I screamed and drove my thumb into his eye. It wasn't solid. My finger pushed through softened tissue, and something inside his skull shifted with a wet collapse. He jerked back violently, releasing me, his head hanging at a broken angle. Thick, dark fluid poured from the socket. The widow shrieked, not in fear, but in anger. "You ruined him." He staggered forward blindly, arms swinging, knocking over the dresser. I grabbed the lamp from the nightstand and smashed it against his temple. Bone cracked. He dropped to his knees, but his hands kept searching, clawing at the air until they found my ankle. I felt his grip tighten. Desperate, I kicked again and again until something in his jaw snapped loose. His body finally tipped sideways and hit the floor, twitching in uneven spasms. The widow fell beside him, cradling his ruined head, sobbing into rotting flesh. I didn't look back when I forced the door open and ran. I reported everything. They found her still there 2 days later, lying beside him. She had opened her own throat. He was gone. The bed was empty. I didn't believe in signs. I believed in bad wiring, depression, weak beams, cheap rope. That's what I told myself when the first body was found hanging from the old oak behind my apartment building. The cops called it suicide. The landlord cut the rope down and burned it in a trash barrel like that would fix anything. 3 weeks later, there was another one. Different tenant, different rope. This time the knot was wrong. It wasn't a standard hangman's knot. It was something tighter, deliberate, almost decorative. The kind of knot you'd tie if you wanted it to look neat while someone's neck stretched inside it. People started whispering about the tree. They said the branch never broke, no matter the weight, no matter how long the body stayed there before someone found it twisting in the wind. I live on the 3rd floor. My window looks straight at that tree. Last night around 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep. I was staring outside when I saw something moving under the branch. At first I thought it was just shadow. Then it lifted. A shape. Thin. Wrong. Hanging there without a rope, its neck bent too far to one side, like it had been snapped and set badly. Its feet didn't touch the ground. They twitched, and then I saw what it was holding. A coil of fresh rope. It wasn't floating like a ghost in a movie. It was hanging, suspended from nothing, its head tilted, jaw slack, eyes open and fixed on my window. On me. The rope in its hands moved slowly, like it was being measured. One end dragged across the dirt beneath the oak. I could hear it through the glass, a dry, rough scraping, back and forth, back and forth. Then it stopped. Its head twitched, not toward the other apartments, toward mine. The rope lifted higher and I saw something carved into the bark of the tree. Names, dozens of them, some old and faded, some fresh, raw wood still pale against the dark trunk. The last name carved was Ethan. Ethan lived 2 floors below me. He'd been found hanging there 4 days ago. The figure reached out with one long, jerking arm and pressed the rope against the trunk just below his name. Then, slowly, it began carving again. I couldn't see the tool, only the movement, and then I realized what it was writing. My name. I don't remember stepping back from the window. I just remember the glass suddenly cold against my spine. Down below, the thing finished the last letter. The bark splintered under its invisible blade. My name sat there, pale and fresh, like a wound. The figure slowly turned its head again and smiled, its mouth stretched too wide, skin splitting at the corners. The rope uncoiled from its hands and dropped to the ground. It didn't fall straight. It slithered, like it was alive, like it knew exactly where it needed to go. It began moving toward the building, not walking, dragging itself, toes scraping dirt, neck still bent at that sick angle. The rope followed behind it like a leash. I ran to my door and locked it. Then I locked it again, even though it was already locked. I shoved a chair under the handle. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. A minute passed. Then 2. Then I heard it. Not from outside, from the hallway. A slow, heavy dragging sound, and something brushing softly against my door. Rope fibers sliding across wood. It didn't knock. It tested the door. The handle twitched once, twice, slow, curious, like whoever was on the other side had all the time in the world. The rope kept sliding across the wood. I could hear the dry fibers rubbing against the surface, circling the handle. Looping, I grabbed my phone to call the police, but before I could dial, the lights in my apartment flickered, then went out. The hallway sound stopped. Silence pressed against the door. For a second, I thought maybe it had gone. Then something pulled hard. The chair jammed under the handle, jerked forward an inch. The wood groaned. The rope tightened from the outside, forcing the handle down little by little. It wasn't trying to break in. It was tying something. I backed away toward the bedroom, breathing through my teeth to stay quiet. I could hear the rope stretching, fibers straining. Then the handle stopped moving. A soft thud hit the other side of the door. Wait. hanging weight, and the rope began to pull tighter. The sound of the tightening rope changed. It wasn't scraping anymore. It was creaking, like something heavy was being lifted slowly off the ground. The chair under the handle vibrated as the pressure shifted. The rope outside pulled upward, not inward. Whatever it had tied to my door was rising. Then I heard it, a strangled, wet, choking sound right outside my apartment. Not from the tree, from my hallway. Someone gasping for air that wouldn't come. I dropped to my knees and pressed my eye to the gap near the bottom of the door. At first, I saw nothing but darkness. Then I saw feet, bare feet, dangling inches above the floor, toes twitching, nails scraping uselessly against the wood of my door as the body turned slowly in the air. The rope was looped over the top of my door frame, and it wasn't tied to the handle anymore. It was tied to the neck of my neighbor from across the hall. His eyes were bulging, locked on mine through the crack, and the rope kept tightening, as if something above him was pulling. I don't know why I unlocked the door. Maybe because he was looking at me. Maybe because I couldn't stand the sound of him trying to breathe. The moment I pulled the chair away, the pressure shifted. The rope above the frame jerked violently, like it was alive and angry. I interfered. I yanked the door open. He dropped, collapsed at my feet, coughing, clawing at his neck where the rope had burned deep into the skin. But the rope didn't fall with him. It shot upward, vanished over the door frame like it had been reeled in by invisible hands. The hallway was empty. No body hanging, no bent neck figure, just the rope sliding across the ceiling, moving on its own. It slithered toward me. My neighbor screamed and scrambled back into his apartment, slamming his door. The rope didn't follow him. It followed me. It wrapped around my ankle before I could react. Tight. Crushing. I hit the floor hard as it began dragging me down the hallway. Toward the stairs. Toward the front door. Toward the tree. Outside, the branch waited. And carved into the bark beneath my name was a new word. Next.